going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I'm bringing to you an updated meta-analysis for the May 2018 format. Now I wanted to bring this to you guys for a couple reasons. First off, not only is this going to encompass the results from the May 2018 ban list going into effect, but it's also going to take into account Dark Savior's release, because Dark Savior's just had its opening weekend, so all of the regionals and nationals results that we're going to be covering are going to incorporate these two very important variables. And as we move forward with YCS New Jersey coming up this upcoming weekend, as well as several other nationals that are taking place around the globe, this is going to be a little bit of an insight as to what people are looking at moving forward into this format. But before we get into that, I want to give a huge shout out to my newest patrons as always. So big shout outs today to That Anime Guy, Felix, Montel, as well as Bilal. You guys are the reason that this channel is growing strong. And if you guys want to help support me in the channel through Patreon, then check out the Patreon link in the description below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So here is the pie chart that comprises of all of the top 8 national and regional results that I was able to assemble from the data that was available. When it comes to regionals, we really don't get some of the data from the top 8 spots, so that's a little bit more spotty. However, we did pretty much get the full breakdowns from the European nationals. So I'm glad we got that, because that gives us a little bit of insight, but there is a little bit of a skewed result here because we are still missing a couple things, but I think this is generally giving us a good idea of what we're looking into moving forward. So I think the biggest, predominant piece of this pie chart here is the fact that Sky Strikers is taking up about 33% of this pie chart. And I think that's a really big deal, because I think before the time of me making this video, a lot of people were very skeptical of Sky Strikers' capabilities, especially due to the part we don't have Crystron Needle Fiber, we don't have Summon Sorcerers, we don't have a lot of these aggressive tools that really make Sky Strikers just as overwhelmingly dominant as, say, in the OCG. However, I think this is going to quell a lot of those suspicions, because this has proven that Sky Strikers are definitely a formidable threat moving forward into this new format. Now, why is that the case? Well, the thing when it comes to Sky Strikers is it's just a very good grindy deck. It's able to just out-resource its opponent so well, and even though it doesn't necessarily OTK them in just that instance, the fact that it pretty much makes it that your opponent's not really going to be playing with any cards compared to you as the Sky Striker player that's going to just have essentially infinite amount of options at your disposal, that is how this deck wins. I mean, when you've got cards like Multi-Roll, when you've got Engage, which is one of the most incredibly powerful search cards we've ever seen in this game, once especially you get those 3 spell cards in your graveyard and you start doubling up on the effect of your Sky Striker cards, that's when this deck truly shines. And in tandem with a lot of the hand traps, since realistically you don't need to have a very high monster count in a deck like this, you're predominantly playing a lot of the Sky Striker spells, the hand traps are going to slow down your opponent's decks with stuff like Droll and Lockbird, Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, and Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and basically that's going to bring them down to size so that you can easily just out-advantage them, and that's how you're going to win the game. So definitely moving forward into YCS New Jersey and any of the other nationals that are going to take place, Sky Strikers is looking to be the strongest deck of the format. We'll have to see after YCS New Jersey if these results are going to still be the same, because you have to realize on an opening weekend of a product, people are going to try to take advantage of the new cards because a lot of players might not be familiar with them, and people might be able to cheese out wins that they might otherwise not have gotten. Not to discredit anyone who played the deck, but that is always an advantage of a new deck upon release. So we'll just have to see if Sky Strikers trends can continue as we move forward into the next format. Now this is going to move us on to the second most dominant deck, and that was Goki. Now, a bit of a caveat here, because Linkuriboh is a card that is heavily played in Goki and helps enable a lot of the deck's combos, and for Europe, they actually do not have Linkuriboh at the moment, so that kind of affects, since this is a TCG Europe-America, fused chart, that's kind of something to take into consideration here. So Goki might actually be underrepresented in terms of if Linkuriboh were were available, a lot more people might have topped with it or done well with it, but that's something we really can't determine at this time. But it still came up in second place, and it actually just did very well overall. It took up several spots in the European Nationals. It took up a lot of slots in the LA Regional, which had almost 600 players in participation, which is huge. I think it took up 3, if not 4, of the top 8 slots there. So that's definitely something you have to keep in mind. And now we have the Goki FTK, that's something that people might be experimenting with. There's still some argument as to whether or not it's consistent enough or it's worth playing those cards, but it is something to be aware of, so just do keep that in mind if you're planning on participating in any competitive events. I still think this is an incredibly strong deck. I underestimated it at first, but I think it's definitely gone to show that it's proven its worth in this format. Now this brings us on to Trickstar. Again, Trickstar is a deck that I didn't underestimate at all. I knew we were going to see this. One of the cool things with Trickstar is that people have been experimenting with a Sky Striker Trickstar hybrid, where basically you're just playing cards like Engage, Hornet Bid, and then maybe some other cards in there just to splash as well that you can search off of the Engage to give your engine a little bit more flexibility. Because the thing is, Trickstar doesn't really need a lot of cards necessarily to function, and since these cards are just massive consistency boosters on their own already, combine that with an already consistent deck like Trickstar, and well, you're gonna start seeing some success. I believe the first place winner of the Austrian National was playing Sky Striker Trickstar, and hats off to him because, you know, that just goes to show how splashable the Sky Striker engine truly is when it comes in tandem to other decks. So something to definitely look out for. I mean, people are still playing pure Trickstar as well, but Sky Striker Trickstar is also something else you're gonna have to look forward to going into any major tournaments. Now there are some other decks too. I mean, Draco still popping its head out. I mean, I don't think a lot of us are really surprised, especially with tournaments that have lower player counts. I think Draco definitely has a very good chance of doing well, so I'm not really too surprised there to see Draco in the top cuts of these nationals. There was also stuff like Paleozoic as well as Pendulum Magician, which was able to nab some top slots in some European tournaments. And then we had some random decks too, like Zephyra managing to make top 8 at the LA Regional. We had a Fur Hire deck take 3rd place at a 170 person tournament in Europe, which that's a very high player count, so that's why I felt that I would just have to include it in there. I don't think a lot of people are expecting Fur Hire to see that much success right out of the gate, and even though it's just one top, like I said, I felt the deck had some viability, and I wouldn't really be too surprised if it was able to top something similar to a regional. There's also a Mech Knight Invoke deck that topped, and I think the biggest thing here that a lot of you guys are questioning is, what about Altergeist? What about Spiral? Well, the thing is, these decks haven't necessarily gone anywhere, they just haven't really gotten any representation in these results that I've compiled here. Now remember, I didn't compile all the results of all the top 8s because not all of that data was available, so there might be an Altergeist or a Spiral in here that I might have missed because I didn't have that information available to me. However, there were still plenty of Altergeist and Spiral players that were in the top 16 levels of some of these tournaments, so even though they might not have made the top 8, they definitely still have representation at the highest tiers of these results, so do keep that in mind. Spiral is still an incredibly potent and powerful deck, especially going second, and when it comes to Altergeist, one of the biggest things after this weekend is that Altergeist Hextia and Altergeist Manifestation are actually getting their text changed back to the OCG version, meaning that Hextia is going to be able to negate spell and trap effects, not just activations, and Manifestation is going to be able to do the loops with Silquidius, so that is really, really powerful too. So Altergeist just basically got a boost from this weekend for basically having to do absolutely nothing, so that might be a deck that you're going to start seeing more of now that 2 of its stronger cards are going to be essentially used as they were originally intended. So guys, those are just my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this meta-analysis as a whole and what you guys expect to see as we move into this upcoming weekend with YCS New Jersey, as well as the other nationals that are going to take place. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. And if you found this video helpful, consider backing me on Patreon, because just by pledging only $1 a month, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.